have found structure does role function, but if you're using computers and Game Boys and cell phones, you have electrical pollution that has to be evaluated. Nutritional interference has 5 subcategories, and we are going to talk about one of those subcategories today and how we evaluate and how we can treat people at a much greater accuracy. We always look for allergies and sensitivities, emotional stressors, and toxins, and we treat these structurally, nutritionally, emotionally, detoxification, the whole story. Now, this comes from Dr. Amen's work. I just listened to another webinar he did just this week. He's an amazing guy. If you have not listened to this medical doctor, go to Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, which is one of his original books that I read, and he does SPECT scans. And it says if your brain is healthy, it's not full of holes. This is an abnormal brain, and it's abnormal because of toxic accumulation. This is what a normal brain looks like. And this is what we're doing. Being a chiropractor, we were taught we should treat from above down, inside out, which means we need to start at the brain, work on the nervous system at all levels. And that's exactly what we do in a wellness holistic practice like I have. This shows encephalitis. It shows you how the infection is just literally eating away much of the brain function. This is alcoholism. Again, you can see the holes in the brain. This is a meth user. One of the worst things that you can deal with if you've ever had this in patients you've dealt with or family members, it is a nightmare, and you can see why. It's just parts of the brain do not function at all. This is before treatment at Dr. Amen's clinic, and he is big on nutrition, and he's made specific nutrition for each area of the brain. I kind of molded that, and I have a product called Max Brain that covers all areas, along with very specific treatments we do for methylation, detoxification, brain function. We'll talk about that a little bit. So this is after treatment. This is actually the same person here as you see here. And you can see how the holes have been filled in here. But literally, the brain is healing and repairing. This is a very good slide that tells us exactly the way it is. The brain is plastic. It can, in fact, regenerate. It is important that we study not only genetics, but epigenetic expression. And that's what we can alter through nutrition, through adjustment, through laser, through detoxification. How can a laser heal the brain and nervous system? These light chromophores literally send like sun rays into the grass. We send these light light into the chromophores of the brain. It literally increases ATP, RNA, DNA, transcription and translation, increases oxygen, detoxification, etc. So the reason I bring this up here is because we're going to show you how we treat a patient with nutrition and laser, and we evaluate them through the blood picture, hair, and urine challenges. Again, another documentation of how the laser, along with nutrition, causes neuronal sprouting. When we evaluate a patient, we literally test for frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital proper processing and improper processing, and this slide will be for your referring a little bit later. We're working with Dr. Merkel in the science-based nutrition. We've developed a program called the BrimhallAdvantage. What's the advantage? Well, it used to be $3,000, and we beat him up, which go down to $400 to join, a one-time only. And then you're allowed to buy a normal $1,500 blood test for like as little as $108 to $150, depending on how many you utilize at a time. So it is an incredible program. And his basic program, the ones that we run on everybody, start off here. And if I want to add anything to these 52 or 53, then I just add them for a slight charge above, again at wholesale prices. And this is something we'll talk about a little bit more as we go along. How we use this, and this is a study that we did allude to here several months ago. I want to go back and add a couple of points here. This is the 2-year-old that referred to us from all the way from California. Underweight, not talking, poor trunk strength, not walking, pulled himself up, fell down. And at this time, my 2-year-olds, we have twin 2-year-olds, were about the same age, and they were running around and starting to talk, and it's just incredible the difference of healthy versus non-healthy, non-functional. This is a chart that I pulled out that just reminds us that the hypothalamus is the major neurological connection to the major glandular section that turns all the endocrine system on. And if you have a breakdown anywhere, you have a breakdown everywhere, but particularly at the hypothalamus pituitary areas. So in our testing, we evaluate the hypothalamus pituitary, and I've made a very specific nutrition under the BioInterject label for Zymogen called hypothalamus pituitary. And whether you do blood testing, brain scan imaging, or muscle testing, this shows up very, very often to help the healing and increased functional output of the hypothalamus and pituitary. you can literally change people's lives by turning those back on. And those, of course, we're always evaluating the thyroid function, as the rest of the body too. And we can evaluate all these different areas here through this BrimhallAdvantage program that we have available now. Something that you may not be up on is, hopefully you can go back and listen to a report, a puzzle piece that I did not long ago, and I alluded to the fact that Dr. Hyman has done a lot of research in the area of toxic accumulation. And they have now found there's 287 drugs and toxins in the umbilical cord of babies. So how would we possibly think at 20, 30, or 50, or 70 we are not toxic? We start off with a 287 problems right to begin with. So I was literally taught in chiropractic school that babies are born optimal and they degenerate as time goes. But if that was ever true, it certainly is not true now. But you see all kinds of very serious problems, from brain tumors to leukemia to diabetes at birth, babies being born without thyroid glands, and a lot of it has to do with toxic accumulation. This is going to be one of the most eye-awakening webinars or seminars